Welcome to part 2 of this Truffle series here at the Morales channel. In this video, we're going to talk about some more advanced migration scripts, just some more scenarios that you might run into when it comes to deploying contracts. We're going to talk about how to work with constructors, with payable functions, deploy multiple contracts. We'll see what type of stuff we'll get into here, but the point is to build upon the last video and really get you the knowledge of a real world scenario when you deploy smart contracts, what you need to know in order to do that. And in the previous video, we talked about the basics, how to install Truffle and how to initialize a repository or a folder with Truffle contracts, how to migrate contracts, how to compile contracts, and we're going to continue where we left off. So we have this file right here. Let's see. We have this simple hello world contract. Here's where we left off. We just did this. And what we can start off by doing is to introduce a constructor here, because many contracts do have a constructor. And what if there are some arguments here maybe? So here we have a string memory message, and we have here, and we have a string message here, and then here we're gonna set, well, let's call this underscore message equal to underscore message, like that. Let's even make this public, and then here we'll return message. Well, then we don't really need this public anyway, but okay. We also need to change pure to view, since we're now actually interacting with our state variables. But yeah, and if you don't know what this is, we have a lot of tutorials, Solidity tutorials here on the YouTube channel that you can check out. We have a full playlist of them. So this should do it. Now we have a, well, we could also create another function that is set message. Then I'll show you how we interact with these, where we have actual input variables that we need to set. And this will set message equal to underscore message, like that. Now let's save that, and let's go back here, and we can just, now I'm in the Truffle console, so maybe I'll exit out of that. I can run Truffle Compile. We can see if this compiles. There we go, no problem. Then let's open up Truffle Develop again to get our local node started. There we go, and now we can run, well, first of all, we need to change our migration file, of course. Maybe it was a bit premature of me here to open up this. Because now we're deploying hello world here, but this requires an actual constructor argument. And it's actually pretty easy, we just enter them here. So here we have a string, we're gonna set it to hello world constructor, so we can see an actual difference. And then if you had more arguments, you just pile them on here. Easy as that. Let's try this. So let's run migrate. And now we can try the same thing that we did last time. We can let instance be equal to hello world dot deployed. Await. There we go. Instance dot. Now we should be able to just run instance dot message. There we go. Since we put it to public. Hello world constructor. We can also run instance dot hello just like we did last time. That's the same thing. Hello world constructor. So our constructor parameter worked and it set the message. Now, how do we call a setter function here? A function that changes the state of the contract. Well, it's just the same. We just call instance dot set message. I think we call it that. And here we just add the argument. So we want to set to new message. Let's run that. We get the receipt back, the transaction basically. This means that the transaction was processed, and that we can now look at the result. So we can go instance.hello. We have new message now instead. If you were to have a payable function, so let's say that we modify our contract again, we say that this set message function, this is going to be payable, meaning that we'll require message.value to be bigger than, let's say, 1 ether. Okay, that means that in order to execute this, you need to pay at least 1 ether, otherwise it will throw an error. So let's try this, and I'll show you how you attach value to a function called in Truffle. That means that we got to redeploy this. And if we just write migrate now, it's not going to migrate anything. It just says network up to date. And that's because Truffle keeps track, and it says, hey, you've already deployed this hello world contract. So in a real world scenario where you have deployed it to the real Ethereum blockchain, you can't just overwrite an existing contract. So that's why Truffle doesn't let you do this. So then you have to, modify contracts in another way. You have to either have some sort of proxy contract, or you need to redeploy a completely new contract that your users use instead. But since we're on a local chain, we don't really care about keeping our contract. We can just deploy a new one. And how do we do that? Well, we run migrate -- reset. That will replace our contracts, just redeploy them to new addresses. And now we have to do the same thing again. We'll have to set instance equal to hello world.deployed. Now this will be a problem because instance has already been defined. So we're going to remove let, so we don't redefine that variable. Instead, we just set it. So we have set instance to this new hello world contract. And then we're going to run instance.setMessage. If we just run it like this, we're going to get an error. VM exception while processing transaction revert. So this means we hit this require statement here, and we didn't send any message.value. So how do we do that? Well, we add at the end of this function call an options object like this, a JavaScript object. And here we put value. And now the value that you specify here is in way, meaning the smallest unit that exists in Ethereum. And so it's not ether. So how can we, in an easy way, specify that we want to send 1 ether here instead of putting like 1 and like 18 zeros here? Well, and instead we can use this tool called web3.utils for utilities .2way. So this will convert whatever we put here into way. And we're going to put 1, comma, and then a string ether. That's how we can easily specify that I want to send 1 ether. And then we just press enter now, and it will send this function call with the attached value. Let's see. It says we need to pass this as a string, so we'll do that. Let's see, we still got an error here, VM error. Yeah, so we said here that we needed to send more than 1 ether. We just said send 1. So let's say we want to send 2 instead, because then that will get past this require statement. There we go. And now we actually set the message. So now we can check. So now the message should be let's see, instance.hello. And there we go, new message. I actually meant to put equals here, but I forgot about that. So we have to put more than 1 ether, but you can of course put equal here if you wanted 1 ether. So that's how you send value through a truffle function. You might also have some functions that say, for example, that message.sender should be equal to some sort of owner. So let's say you had an address owner up here that you set here. You set the owner equal to message.sender in the constructor, so that would be the creator. And then down here would check so that message.sender is equal to owner. How do you specify what account you want to use then when you're calling this function? Because when you're using Truffle develop and this local instance, you get a few accounts. You see here, you get 10 accounts actually. And Truffle will default to this first one. But if you want to test out so that this function actually works, you need to know how to use the other accounts. And that's actually quite easy. So in the same, let's say you want, now this is not deployed, so it's not going to work. I can't demonstrate it, but I can show you how you send it. So if you were to do the same call again, you would call set message with new message, and then you have this options thing, and you would set value equal to this entire thing, web3, you know. Then you can add another argument after that, that is from, and then you can specify accounts 0, which would be the first one, accounts 1, 2, 3, which would correspond to these. So this account array is something that Truffle injects for you that you can use. And the name of the argument is from, and then you specify accounts, and then you can pick another account from those that are here. So let's say you deployed with the standard account, the default account that is this one. If you wanted to test so that this works, you would use the second account maybe, and you can see, okay, this doesn't actually work. So that's how you do that. And I can also show you something else that is, let's say we have two contracts. So let me create a copy of this. This is the last thing we're going to do before we wrap up today. So let's rename this to Hello World 2. So now we have two of the same contract, and let's just make it easy for us. So we're going to have this second Hello World 2 contract is going to be something different. So this will be just no constructor. The message will directly here be non-changeable message. So this will just be edged into the Ethereum blockchain for all eternity because no one can change it. It will just set the variable and that's it. So this is just an example. Now we have two different contracts. And now if you run compile, Truffle will compile both of these contracts that we have in our contracts folder, or rather all three. So you can see here that we compiled Hello World, it compiled Hello World 2, it compiled migrations. And now, if we check our migrations file, let's say we wanted to deploy them both in the same file, because we could clone this migration file, just change the name here. Well, oops, I've actually forgot to do this. Let's change this contract name to Hello World Permanent, because we can't have the same name. I don't even know how Truffle would handle that. Yeah, it doesn't handle it very well. So we need different names, and now we compile again. And now we can see in the build contracts folder that we actually have two different JSON files here. But what if we wanted to deploy both of them after each other in the same migration file? Maybe we want them to somehow interact with each other. We just want to deploy them at the same time. Then we can do like this. Because we could, of course, just clone it, create the file with number 3, change the name here to permanent, and then we have deployed them after each other. But let's say we want to deploy them in the same file. Then we need to import both contracts over with Hello World Permanent here. And then we deploy one contract here. And then after this, we can run this .then function. So this function deploy.deploy will return a promise. And here we can create a function so that when this is deployed, we will deploy something else maybe. So here we can run something else, and here I'll run deploy.deploy again, but with Hello World Permanent. And then here, as the constructor, well, didn't have a constructor argument here. We actually didn't have that, but let's say we did have here instead message, and we just set that here. Like that. What I want to do is I want to use something from the original Hello World contract, and I want to use that in here. How would I do that? I could run let instance be equal to the same thing we did basically in basically the same thing that we did in the console. Hello World dot deployed, and then I could let the message be equal to let's see, Hello World dot message. I could get the message, then I can use that to set the message here. So you can interact with contracts in this way. Now this becomes a little bit messy because now we have a wait call inside this function here, so I have to put async here. But I think you get the point. This is just normal JavaScript. So if you're familiar with that, this should be easy peasy, but a bit messy and mixed here. So let's try this. Let's compile first. Yeah, that works. Let's run migrate -- reset again and see if this actually works. Hello.message is not a function. Did we... it needs to be instance.message. There we go. There we go. So now hello world permanent should contain the same message as we set in hello world. So let's check that. Well, did we? Yeah, we did set the message. Yeah, hello world constructor. Now we can do the same thing here. We can try to get this, but for permanent deployed. Let's check now. Instance dot message. Ooh. Let's see here what's going on. You see here, we deployed hello world migration, replacing hello world, contract address, but it says total deployments only 2. We deployed 3 things, migrations, hello world, and hello world permanent, but it didn't actually do that. That's because we need to put return here, return deploy.deploy, because we are inside this this separate function, this arrow function. So let's try to run this again, migrate -- reset. And now you should see total deployments 3. And now we should be able to get this instance and then get instance.message, which is hello world constructor. Boom, which is the same as we set here. So I just wanted to show you this interaction between different different contracts in our migration files. And this can work as well if you have separate migrations file, because Truffle will automatically sort that out. If you write hello world.deployed in a third migration file, that will work as well. Truffle will figure it out for you. But I think that's it for this video. We've gone a bit back and forth here, done some things, but I think all of these lessons are good if you want to use Truffle. You know a lot more now than you did when you started about constructors, about parameters, about options, about from, value. Very good things. In the next video, we're going to continue with testing. And then I think I want to extend this series, talk a little bit more about how you can actually deploy to a testnet or a mainnet using Moralis nodes. So that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section, or join the Moralis forum, the Moralis beta, or create a Moralis account rather, because the beta is now over. And you can join our Discord, you can join our forum, you can get help there from the community and from us. If you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button as well, because you'll catch the next episodes in this series. Check out our playlist, learn Solidity, and yeah, learn to build dApps. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.